R.C. Blake's on this, what is this, Monday afternoon. I just had something I wanted to share with you. Turn my mic up. Invite some others to come in and to be a part of this conversation today. I think it's going to be helpful. Just sitting here and thinking about how we sabotage our lives. You know, when we really boil it down, many times we are the cause of most of our pain. You know, even when it comes down to what other people do to us, the reality is we knew that those people were not right for us when we let those people into our lives, right? We have a tendency to sabotage our lives. And I say we because it's a human experience. But I really do believe that this applies to women probably more so because women are driven by relationship and so it makes women more susceptible, whereas men are driven by, you know, some other things that are not always relationship and emotional issues are not always at the top of the man's agenda. The man is more self-centered, whereas women are, you know, open. But I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking about how these are just some thoughts that I jotted down. How most of the sabotage is really the breakdown in our own personal consciousness. You know, I talk a lot about that. Queen consciousness, king consciousness, really knowing who you are, knowing your value, knowing your worth. And what happens is consciousness separates your value and your worth when you're truly conscious and you know who you really are. It separates your value and your worth from your accomplishments or your physical attributes, the things that the world might applaud, the things that the world says you need to have in place to be of value, to be significant. Once you understand that your value and your worth truly, absolutely, definitely, honestly comes from within you, it really frees you up when you are aware that your value is innate and nobody really has a vote on your value, what you're worth. And you and the creator are the determining factors in that respect. Because many women today in particularly are striving, you know, to outpace low self-esteem. And because the world says, well, if you're not this, you're not that, it makes you anxious, it makes you desperate, and it makes you hurry and rush. It brings haste into the equation. And so you find yourself making a lot of blunders that you ultimately have to pay for because though you have all of these accolades and you have all of these degrees and you make all of this money, the reality is at the core of you find yourself self-sabotaging, trying to please the world. You will never, the fastest way to be personally miserable is to try to make the world happy. The quickest way to end up personally miserable, unfulfilled, and broken is to live your life trying to make the world happy. And this is where most of us are failing because we're not conscious of who we are and we've not owned it. We are living our lives we're dancing to the beat of the world's drum, and we're ending up broken and miserable and depleted as a consequence. Now, a few things I jotted down. If you're going to stop sabotaging, number one, you got to cut the puppet strings. you're going to have to cut the puppet strings. I hope my signal is good. Is my, I didn't ask, is my signal good? I suppose it is. If not, I think somebody would have said something. Is my signal good? Yes. Thank you, Kanisha. Thank you, Ursula. Phoenicia, I guess it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You got it. Number one, you must cut the puppet strings. Now, somebody said, I'm not a puppet. Are you not? Are we not? I think at some point, all of us have been puppeted by someone else or the world or some system. What's a puppet? A puppet is something that looks like it's alive, but the reality is it's not really living, it's being managed. And I think all of us at certain points in our lives can, if we're honest, we can testify that there have been occasions in our lives where we were not really living, we were simply being managed. Now, in terms of women, average women are constantly controlled by remote sources, and so are average men controlled by remote sources. You know, average women are typically controlled by a toxic sisterhood that they can't break from. They don't want to disappoint. And even though they don't agree with the values of that particular sisterhood, average women are controlled by toxic men. Women are so, sometimes are so desperate for relationships that they do whatever, this little man tells them to do. And then you flip that coin, you have average men that are controlled by the toxic brotherhood that teaches them to hate women and to, berate women and to diminish and humiliate women and to fight with women. In what world is it right for men to fight with women? Men don't fight with women. If men disagree with women, they simply leave them be, leave them to their own, folly. Men are not on the internet fighting with women. Where did men learn this? Being puppeted by a toxic brotherhood. Toxic masculinity tends to impose itself on every male, and then sometimes you got, back to my point, average women are constantly controlled by remote sources. You know that you're being puppeted when you need to be intentional, but you're emotional. You're in a place where you need to make sound decisions, but you're all in your emotions. You know that you're being puppeted when somebody you don't even like, who's never done anything good for you, occupies your mind. Is my signal going bad? Is my signal going bad? Somebody talk to me before I continue. Good stuff, good stuff. No, it's not. Okay, cool. I saw my numbers dropping. Okay, maybe they don't like what I'm talking about. But the world has conditioned us to be at war within ourselves so that we never really come to ourselves. Every time you think that you've arrived at the place of happiness and fulfillment, the invisible puppet strings pull you back. And you're trying to actualize, you're trying to come into authenticity, but these invisible puppet strings are constantly managing your life and preventing you from maximizing or reaching your full potential. Now, some of these puppet strings are things like approval addiction, where we're constantly seeking other people's approval. We're in this mindset where we want to please people because we need people to say, we're of value, we're of worth. We need the people to say we're attractive, we're good. Then a lot of us are struggling with self-hate. We've been conditioned to believe that some people are conditioned to believe that because your skin is darker, because we have this pigment in our skin, that somehow we're less than. And You may say, I don't believe that, but then your behavior says otherwise. The things you do will indicate to you that you really don't like yourself. Women who hate themselves and constantly, nothing wrong with cosmetic surgery. I pray that you go and find somebody that really know what they're doing and that you don't overdo it. But you see a lot of women that just overdo it, just one procedure after another, and you look around, you can't even recognize this person. And that's not saying a good thing most of the time. Well, what is that? That's self-hate. The world has conditioned you and tied these puppet strings to you that makes you believe your body type, your race, your hair, none of this stuff is good. So you're constantly puppeted by this self-hate. And then you're puppeted by constant competition. You always feel like you got to outdo the next person, when the reality is, when you're healthy, your competition is not anybody else. Your competition is the person that you were yesterday, to be better than that person today. That's your real competition when you're healthy. But if you don't know that, you can't cut these puppet strings. If you can't recognize the puppet strings that are controlling your life, you'll never have the power to disengage these puppet strings. All of us must take a deep introspective look at ourselves to see what's steering us, what's driving us, what's pushing us. And when we find ourselves being puppeted, it's our responsibility to break that programming and to subscribe to a healthier mindset. The Bible puts it this way in Romans 12:2. Don't be conformed to this world any longer with its superficial values and customs, but be transformed and progressively changed as you mature spiritually by the renewing of your mind, focusing on godly values and ethical attitudes, so that you may prove for yourselves what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect in his plan and purpose for you. When he talks about renewing the mind, he's talking about renovating the mind, which means what? Pulling out the thinking that is not serving you. Recognizing the thought before the thought becomes a feeling, and the feeling becomes a full-blown attitude that produces a behavior that you ultimately have to pay the consequence. See, the world will pull your puppet strings and the world will make you move in these various directions, but the world doesn't show up when it's time to pay, when the consequences have to be met. You're left to deal with that on your own. So number one, if you're going to stop self-sabotaging, you're going to have to recognize and cut these puppet strings and start living your life authentically. Start living your life authentically. Stop living for other people's approval. Number two, if you're going to stop self-sabotaging, you're going to have to own your personal vision. Stop shrinking. Stop shrinking and stop, running from who you are and where you're going, trying to satisfy an inferior circle that you don't want to separate from. Here's the reality. Elevation always calls for separation. You can't win the race and run with the pack at the same time. If you're going to win the race, you have to be willing to separate yourself from the pack. And there are many of you who keep self-sabotaging your life because you don't want to own your personal vision. You're bigger than the people that are presently surrounding you. And you don't want to own that because you're afraid of how that's going to make them feel, or, you're afraid of actually walking alone. But if you can't walk alone, you can't win, because winners many times have to walk alone. You have to walk alone when you're on your grind. You have to walk alone when you're working out your vision and you're up all night and you're working your fingers to the bone. You have to walk alone. Now, when you get ready to go to the next level, everybody wants to show up for the ride. Nobody was on the bus when you were out there grinding and you were working and you were putting all of this together, but when the bus pulls up and it's time to go to the next level, everybody wants to show up. But you see, it was a bus that was available when you were on your grind. When you go to the next level, it's a two-seater. I'm preaching better than y'all shouting. And you have the choice to make. Am I going to stay with them and miss my actualization, or am I going to go to the next level and own my vision? The world makes ambitious women in particularly ashamed of your dreams and your drive. And the accusation is this relative to women that have a dream. The accusation is that you're too masculine because you have a vision and you have a drive and you're accomplishing. The world says a woman with a vision is too masculine, as if the only feminine women in the world are those that are homemakers and those that are, wives and so forth and so on. The reality is every woman has that drive in her. It's where she chooses to use it. Some women say, I'm going to use it in my family. I'm going to take this energy and invest it in my family. Other women say, well, I'm going to invest it in entrepreneurship, or I'm going to rise up the ranks of corporate America. And that does not mean that you're not feminine. But the world will say to you, you got to choose. You're either going to be ambitious or you're going to be feminine. You're either going to be successful in terms of your vision and dreams, or you're going to be feminine. Why not be both? Why not be winning and feminine all at the same time? Why not? It's because you don't believe it's possible. The world has made you believe that your vision is wrong and that your vision is masculine, and you'll never be a feminine woman. Average women find it impossible to reconcile their dreams with the other dimensions of life, like relationships, femininity, social expectations, and cultural norms, because the world says it can't happen. And so what happens is, because this is planted in your mind, many times you are sabotaging your own success, because in the back of your mind, you've been made to believe that this is wrong. The mindset has to be anything. Here's what your mindset has to be if you're going to stop self-sabotaging. Anything that is meant to be in my life will be congruent with who I am. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? The dream you have was given to you by God. You don't need to keep going through this. Am I wrong for having ambition? Am I wrong for reaching for my dreams and my goals? Should I compromise? Am I not going to, is there no man in the world that can accept me being ambitious and see me as a full-blown woman at the same time? Yes, there is. Because God gave you. Let's see. If you look in Philippians 2:13, it says, for it is not your strength, but it is God who is effectively at work in you. Watch this, both to will and to work, that is strengthening, energizing, and creating in you the longing and the ability to fulfill your purpose for his good pleasure. In other words, that dream that's on the inside of you, that vision and drive that's on the inside of you, is something that was given to you by God. When you accept that and you stop doing this song and dance, you stop trying to, please the world, and you own who you are. And like I said, choose both. Choose to be, a winner in this sphere or that sphere, and at the same time, be a woman that's in touch with your femininity. When you own that and you show up authentic and healthy and you accept yourself, you see, no one else can accept you if you don't accept you. If the world has you disapproving of you, how are you ever going to give off the kind of energy that's going to attract the kind of man into your life that's broad enough, big enough, and deep enough to accommodate you and to accept you for who you are? Purpose originates from within and is expressed through individuality. You got to stop sabotaging your individuality. That's because that's what the world is asking you to do. You got to stop sabotaging your individuality. You have to be an individual, a healthy, full individual before you qualify to be a spouse or even a partner. If I can't show up in my authenticity as an individual, how can I be someone's husband? If Lisa's getting a 30% version of me because the world has made me feel like the other 70% of me is inappropriate, and I've canceled that part of me, am I even being fair? Everything and anyone that fits your life will harmonize with your purpose, that purpose that God put in you, right? If you have to force it, it does not fit. Any relationship that you have to force, it's just not a fit. Don't sabotage your life and don't compromise your dream. Own your dream, own your vision. You cannot change who you are to accommodate people or systems. When the people or systems don't naturally agree with you and your dream, they have to go. You cannot change your authentic God-given constitution, because if you don't own your dream, the world will steal and cancel it. You will never find sustainable fulfillment apart from your ordained purpose. Now let's see something here. What was that? That was number 2. Here's the third thing. I think this is number 3. Choose healthy people. You want to stop sabotaging your life? What did we say? Own your personal vision. Cut the puppet strings. But now you got to choose healthy people. And this applies to women and men, because I see so many men today that are sabotaging themselves with women that are not healthy. It's amazing to me how the best of men seem to choose the worst of women. Thank you, Chelsea. It's like the best of men are choosing the worst of women, and the best of women are choosing the worst of men. And it's like the world has conditioned us to believe that this is what you want. And so we have good men that are bypassing good women, going to women that are not even wife material. They don't have the mindset of a wife. And you trying to wife somebody that's, her intent is to be for the streets. And hey, no judgment, but her intent is to be for the streets, and you out here trying to wife her. And then you got good women that are only attracted to dudes that eat puppy chow, if you know what I mean. You're going to have to choose healthy people. A woman cannot choose a man that's too small for her. I was at a conference recently, and anybody that's had those red bottoms, male or female, can testify. Those are pretty shoes. Those are good looking shoes. They really attract a lot of attention. People love, but those shoes hurt. They're good looking, but they hurt. And a lot of y'all are out here wondering why your life is hindered. It's because you're choosing Louboutin-like people. You're choosing people that look good. They're great for Instagram, but they hurting all at the same time. You out here grinning and smiling and in pain at the same time because of the relational choices you're making. Now, there's a lesson I did. There's a lesson I did on YouTube called the LET method. How to discern a man. And LET stands for language. When you start talking about choosing healthy people, listen to their language. Words are not just words. Words are spiritual. And you know that words are spiritual because they have a spiritual impact on you. Thank you, Nicole. Words have a spiritual impact on you. When somebody speaks words to you, something adjusts itself in your spirit, in your soul. Words have an impact on the way you think, the way you feel, the way you move. Because the only way to impact a person internally is through language. So when you're talking about choosing a person, pay very close attention to their language, because language can break the soul. Now, if you look at 26, 23 through 26, it says, like a common clay vessel covered with the silver dross, making it appear silver when it has no real value. Are burning lips, murmuring manipulative words, and a wicked heart. He who hates disguises it with his lips. But he stores up deceit in his heart. He who hates disguises it with his lips, but he stores up deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously and kindly to conceal his malice, do not trust him, for 7 abominations are in his heart. Though his hatred covers itself with guile and deceit, his malevolence will be revealed openly before the assembly. So you got to watch his language. Because, especially a woman with broken consciousness is easily steered by language. Then you let energy. You start choosing a man for your life, you got to watch his language. Then you got to check out his energy. Energy doesn't lie. Energy is the atmosphere a person creates within you and around you. The part of you that is sensitive to energy is your spirit. The part of you that is most connected to your spirit is God. When the energy doesn't feel right, that is God saying to you, run, run, run. Doesn't matter how good it looks. Doesn't matter how good it looks on paper. You're about to sabotage your life if you get involved in this situation. The world says this is what you need. You need a man that's 6 foot tall, 6-pack, 6 figures, and all of this kind of stuff. And you looking at the 6-pack, the 6 figures, and the 6 feet, and all of that. You're not paying attention to these horns sticking out of this devil's head. You're not paying attention to this demonic energy this individual brings into your world. Every time this individual comes around, this individual is sabotaging your environment because you did not pay attention to the energy. You're out here choosing people that are not healthy for you. And the Bible says in Job 32:8, but there's a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. Wrong energy will always disturb your spirit. When your spirit is agitated, God is sending you a signal. The most important red flag is not what you see, it's what you feel. If you had paid attention to what you felt, you would have known this was not right long before you got to a point of seeing anything. Because when someone is not right for your life, unhealthy for your life, there's an energy that you feel. And then you got to pay attention to the treatment. You got to watch the treatment. Language, energy, treatment. A man's treatment resets the expectations unconsciously. When you let a man mistreat you, what's happening is your personal standard is being reset. Whatever you settle for is where you ultimately settle. Now, let me shut this down. And finally, you're going to have to, number 4, if you're going to stop self-sabotaging, you're going to have to prioritize your peace. You're going to have to make peace a priority. Now, that's for those of you that are still out here with this stuff about looks and all of that, and talking about your type. And I get it. Nobody wants to be with somebody they're not attracted to. Anybody you got to get into bed with and have sex with, you want to at least be able to look at them. I get that. But there's a big difference between a person that is attractive to you versus, these ridiculous standards that we have, that many of you have, and that considers nothing but the externals and the superficial aspects of the person. You're not concerned with his mindset. You're not concerned with his spirit. None of that. Just his looks, his money, and all of this, how he shows up on Instagram. And that's what you call your type. And you keep getting your type, but your type keeps robbing you of your peace. And I'm like, well, how many times are you going to go through this before you prioritize your peace? If all you've been attracted to, if your type is 8s, 9s, and 10s, and they keep bringing you, thank you, Ada, they keep bringing you misery, pain, and shame, I would say I would think about, well, maybe I need to look at some of these 5s, 6s, and 7s. And people that, are good, I can look at you and I can go out in public with you and not be ashamed of you, but you have the internal qualities, because all of this other stuff is passing away. We ain't cute but a couple of weekends. Like y'all see all this gray in my beard now. Man, I'm tired of trying to keep up with dyeing this gray. It is what it is at this point. I'm tired of, it was just yesterday. I was a vibrant, 30-some-year-old man, full head of hair, energy, just out there. I'm doing this thing. I'm at the top of my game. Lisa and I out here living life. Now we grandparents. About to have a grandson that's getting ready to graduate from high school. Looks don't last but a couple of weekends. When those weekends are over, you got the rest of your life to live with this person. You got to prioritize your peace. You got to prioritize your peace even in terms of your friendships. Some people may be nice to be friends with on the social media platforms, but if they don't bring you peace, is it worth it? You got to prioritize your peace. You keep sabotaging your life because you're not prioritizing your peace. You keep introducing things into your life that don't serve you. Like you get out of debt in one area and now you finally free. You finally got Sally Mae off your back. You finally got your car paid for. And now you got a mindset to go out here and buy something bigger, buy something more expensive, put yourself in a worse place than you were previously, rather than sitting yourself down and being happy and content for a little while and stacking some monies. You out here running, trying to floss before time. You're not prioritizing your peace, and you're constantly sabotaging your own well-being. See, people will tell you, oh, it's great to have that. Oh, you need you deserve a 2-seater drop top Bentley. You deserve that, but they ain't gonna pay for that. You got to pay for that. And you keep running out here trying to keep up with the Joneses. And you don't understand, the Joneses had their grandparents left money to their parents, and their parents left them money. You ain't had nobody leave you nothing. I'm preaching better than y'all shouting. If you're going to stop sabotaging your life, you got to prioritize your peace. If it doesn't bring me peace, I ain't doing it. And I'm not apologizing for not participating. If I keep letting you in my life and you don't bring me peace, you don't help it. You got to at least not bring me down. You know what I'm saying? You got to at least not bring, you got to at least, help accentuate the peace I presently have. If you up in here and every time you come up in here, man, I'm full of anxiety and all of this kind of, you got to go. And I ain't making no apologies, and I ain't getting no bunch of people's permission to let you go. You know what I'm saying? You got to go, because I prioritize my peace. If I don't have peace, I ain't got nothing. You can have all the money in the world. If you don't have peace, that money ain't worth nothing. What good is it to sit in your house with more money than you can spend and then sitting there full of thoughts like, is it even worth living because you don't have peace? So, man, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope this resonates with somebody. I don't know how long I've been on here. Wow, 35 minutes. I didn't plan on being on here this long. I hope that resonates with somebody. And may I pray for you before I let you go? Father, I thank you for just this opportunity to speak to so many people, just at the pushing of a button. And now, God, my prayer is that you will allow this message to just soak in and resonate with them and let it become something, dear God, that they apply to their lives. Thank you for freedom and supernatural breakthrough. In Jesus' name, amen. Now listen, don't forget tonight, we're going to be right here on the channel, same time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I want you to go and like and share the link to tonight's conversation. We're talking about reading between the lies. This is going to be a good one. This is for men and women, but I really titled it, how Queen Conscious Women Read Between the Lies, but the principles apply across the aisle. How Queen Conscious Women Read Between the Lies. So I want you to meet me tonight on time for 8 o'clock. Let's do a better job of liking. I need y'all to do that because that helps the messages to trend and get in the faces of more people. And more people need to hear what we talk about and what we discuss on Monday nights. So I need you to go and like and share and subscribe and hit the little button to get the alert that we are live. It's going to be awesome tonight. Well, I love you all. I thank God for you. I need to rewatch this 5 times. Let's not do the self-sabotaging thing. All right. I love you all. See you tonight. Invite someone to come in and be with us tonight. And let's make it a great one. I believe this word tonight is really going to resonate and minister to you. Go and like it and share it now. Copy the link and share it on Facebook. Send it to your friends by text message or whatever, Twitter. Let's make certain that we get more people into the conversation tonight. Well, God bless you, my babies. I love you. I will see you in some hours, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a great one. I'll talk to you soon. In the meantime, don't sabotage yourself today.